Hi, I'm here with Michael Willis, FAIA, at the Monterey Design Conference. Mr. Willis founded MWA Architects Incorporated in 1988 and served as principal until 2016. Since 2017, he has been an independent design consultant and teaching at his alma mater, Washington University. Bachelor of Architecture 1973, Master of Architecture 1976, MSW in 1976. Oh, okay, so you got it after you got the architecture.
It's simultaneous.
Oh, okay.
I got the architecture and the MSW at the same time.
Oh my goodness. MWA Architects has created master plans and has designed several mixed income, affordable housing and neighborhood revitalization projects in San Francisco, Oakland, Portland, Detroit, St. Louis, Memphis, and post-Katrina New Orleans. Faubourg Lafitte in New Orleans. The Catch Williams Glide Community House and the GEDC 125 Mason Housing Tower in San Francisco. He has facilitated planning studies in St. Louis's downtown, North Central, and JeffVanDerLou neighborhoods, demonstrating that good design does not have to be expensive to be comprehensive. He was principal on large public projects, including the International Terminal at San Francisco Airport, Terminal 2 at Oakland International, and the Central Subway Yerba Buena Moscone Station in San Francisco. So I've actually been in all of your projects then. Yes, all of those projects back there.
Did that say Cecil Williams? I think you said... No.
I probably, yeah. Is it Cecil?
Yeah, Cecil Williams Glide Community House.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, Michael, what are your first recollections of experiencing architecture?
I think the first realization that architecture was something 3D that I could access was I was in mechanical drafting in high school. And I was always sketching and drawing, but that's the first time I realized that these 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper could actually turn into something three-dimensional, turn into a building. And so from that point, I decided that I would be an architect. And so I applied for architecture school right out of high school. But I have to say, one of the biggest influences or impacts was in 1965 when they were finishing the Gateway Arch in St. Louis. And I saw them jack the legs apart and drop in the keystone, which works exactly the way the Romans said it would on a voussoir arch.
Yes.
And in that one moment, that 630 feet high and wide. It's a catenary, actually.
Yes.
630 feet wide and 630 feet high became an absolute structural reality, and so I saw that, and I wanted to be a part of that world.
Yeah, that's great. What are 3 classic buildings that you like and why?
3 classic buildings, I think, would have to be, one is Palladio. I saw a few of his buildings in Vicenza, and I have to say I really liked of the 3 buildings of his that I saw. I'm going to pick on the Basilica.
Okay.
Because the Basilica was an adaptive reuse project. he just put the loggia and a structure on top of an existing building. It was actually
a remodel.
A remodel.
A remodel.
A dramatic, crazy, wonderful remodel,
Yeah.
but it was
Remodel in addition.
It was a way of saying that buildings belong in the city, and here's a way of bringing that use up to current standards in a classic old building. They don't tear stuff down; they remodel it. So
Yes.
I think Palladio would be mine, classic.
Yeah. And then they don't have to be classic, just like well known, kind of like classic architecture things. Yeah. Yeah.
But I got a lot from seeing not only that building, and because we do adaptive reuse projects, it just made sense to me as a reference. You know,
I didn't know that about that building.
Yeah. I used to give away copies of the 4 books of architecture because I thought you ought to know this stuff, not because we're copying 16th century buildings, but because of the lessons in proportion, scale, material, structure. He did roadways, so and that all became important stuff for me. So there is the Basilica. Another classic building, I think I'll just stick with it, the Gateway Arch.
Okay, I was going to ask if that was one of them. Yeah.
It's because it's not only architecture, it's structure, how it was actually built, and it is a symbol.
Yes.
So those buildings, that building influenced me because as a kid, I was watching it get built.
Yeah.
It was a big spectator sport.
Yeah.
And my third classic building, if I have to pick one out of my rolling memory, well, let me come back to that third building.
Okay. What do you like about being an architect?
Oh, that's kind of simple. What I like about being an architect, really, is getting projects built. I looked at for about 10 minutes the option of majoring in urban studies, where we can talk about how cities were made, how these grand designs, whether it's Tony Garnier or Ebenezer Howard, and we're talking about concepts for building cities. But the reason that I wanted to be an architect is because I wanted to build buildings. I wanted to confront neighborhoods, budgets, code, zoning, and get projects built. So that's what I like about being an architect.
And I think that's really more for people. I mean, that's how most people experience architecture, by the built form. I mean, they're not like studying the theory of architecture no.
They're walking down the street, turning left and seeing something in front of them that sticks with them. I will say, walking through Bilbao, and I might just pick this project for my third building because of what I'm talking about. I'm walking through the city, and Bilbao has narrow streets, and then suddenly I see the puppy in front of Gary's museum. Taking nothing away from the museum. It's just the idea that through these little the surprise.
Yes, element of surprise.
The element of urban surprise. I thought, now that's cool. I've got good things to say about the building, but it was just this idea that even if you don't go to the building, you were being engaged by something that the architects and the artists put in the urban environment for you. I mean, that's what I love about.
You know what's funny?
being an
You're
architect.
describing it right now, and I've never been there, and I've never known that was a sequence of spaces of how you get into it. But with you describing it, I imagined it, and that's like just one of the wonderful things about being an architect and be able to like describe space to people. And that we're getting it, we're like, oh, okay, I get it, yeah.
And so when I see buildings, some things about some aspects of them grab me and stick with me. For an example, when we joined with SOM and Del Campo and Maru to design the San Francisco International Terminal back in 90, I think we got the job in 94, but didn't really start cranking until 95. The picture that I pinned up on my desk was the Cologne train station, because it was a big, generous space. It covered the trains and the people. It was glass. Light came pouring in. And whether it was for trains or planes, that kind of visual idea came from built space, not just the theory of how light goes through a building. And I didn't know about, I didn't take the picture of the train station because I thought we were going to get this job. I was just taking a picture of things that interested me.
Yeah.
And then when we got this cool job, my mind went back to that picture and said, transportation, it houses the entire thing. The thing that gets you from here to there, the people down below, and lets light come all the way down to the platform, which is also the concept I was using for our Moscone Subway Station. Light all the way down to the platform.
So why did you decide to apply for fellowship in the AIA, and what object did you choose?
Well,
objective, I guess. Objective.
No, it's an object.
Okay.
My object was, I'm not sure what they call it now, but this had to do with connection with community.
Okay.
Because for most of my practice life, I wasn't the designer. I commented on design in the early parts of my practice, when it was just, me and my 1984 Macintosh.
I have a couple of those in my garage.
Of course, I had to conceptualize, but my real aim was to find people to work with me to be the people who were going to be the day-to-day architects. So I mean, just say that again. I mean, so my object, most of our work is public. Connecting with communities. Working to support other architects in practice. So I've done a lot on the mentoring side. I've done a lot on the community connection side. And I think those are vitally important aspects of what architects do. And that was my object, rather than teaching or design practice, or, I wanted to focus on the benefit to the architectural community that I was able to, that I thought I could make a case for. And did.
So, did you want to use Bilbao as your third building, or did you think of something else?
Well, it's since it's a little funny, since I used the cat. I mean, the big puppy, the flower puppy. So let me pick another building.
Okay.
I will pick my very first water infrastructure project, something that fascinates me even now. I'll pick this building because when we got this project, when we interviewed for this project, we were interviewed by engineers. They didn't really know or care that we didn't have water experience. They just they thought they had already designed the building. I mean, to be fair, it was a big infrastructure project. They thought they had a design. They just needed an architect to
to
tart
make
it up,
look pretty,
put some fins on it or something like that. But they felt that they had already had a design. And in that sense, they said, we just need an architect. Fine, you're hired. Well, that's another story. It wasn't just that. It was the best interview of all time to get that project, because when we talked to the engineers at first, he kept asking me how many people are in the firm, and I said, "What's a number? You know, what's a number?" I just talked about our energy and how excited we were, and he kept saying, "Okay, all right." But the day before the interview, he called me and said, "You know, I've really liked talking to you. I promise we're going to find a project that we can do together, but I'm not sure this is it."
Oh, no.
And I told him, well, the interview's already set up. Let it happen. And if you still don't think we're the right people, then fine. We'll at least have had our say. And after a very long pause, he said, okay. So I got 4 people in my Volkswagen, and we drove across the Bay Bridge, and we proceeded to have the seminal knockout interview of all time, to the point where the engineers interviewing us said, after we finished it, "You guys want to go to lunch?" "Yeah, let's go to lunch." So it just kept going. And on our drive back across the Bay Bridge, I said, "That's our job." I just knew it. And he, in fact, did call. Now, why is this important?
Seems pretty important.
It
does seem pretty important.
But here's why it mattered to me is my favorite building. One of my favorite buildings is because when we looked at, we're hired, and I said, look, we don't design water facilities, but I've got some questions.
Yeah.
Why is this building over here and this other building over here? Tell me what happens in these two buildings. And he began to explain to me how, somebody has to go to this building every few hours and that building every few hours. And I said, well, what if they were together so you wouldn't have to get in the truck to go to the other one? And he said, okay. So the light came on for me, because I understood that by asking, I would call them architectural questions. I said, explain it to me. This is not just design. I'm not just going to stick things on here, but tell me why. What goes on in this building? What goes on in that building? And then, so as I understood it, I began to realize that architects could have a major impact on infrastructure and industrial buildings, just like in the WPA period, and where art was a part of the infrastructure.
Yeah. I've said to other people before, it's not just, architecture. A lot of people say, oh, architecture, and architects, people don't need them anymore. And I said, no, because we find solutions to so many things that aren't architectural, that don't seem architectual. But it is problem solving in so many ways.
I'll give you an example. When we were talking, this is the same water project. There were actually two projects, similar program, but in 2 different sites. And so I said, well, what are you trying to solve? What would you like to achieve? And he said, well, we want to reduce the energy usage in this building as much as possible. And I said, okay, to me, the architectural solution was a skylight. I didn't say it at the time, but as he was talking about the things he was trying to solve, I noticed that there were architectural solutions to the problems that the engineers are trying to solve. So when I proposed them, it wasn't just an architect putting a fin on the building. It was, I'm answering the question of how do we use, how do we make these the most energy efficient buildings we can by using more daylight.
Yeah.
So I was answering the daylight question.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when the light came on, I realized that if we bothered to understand what the engineering objectives were, we could offer architectural solutions not in a frivolous way, but in a very specific way that shows how the architecture can be a part of any infrastructure project. And so we, MWA, my firm, we became water experts. Wastewater, clean water, labs, because we got interested in it. Not just because it was just a cool job for architects, but because we realized, I realized that we could make an actual contribution to the infrastructure through architecture.
Yeah. That's great. And then what's the name of that plant? Was it in the bio?
No, it's not in the bio, but it's the El Sobrante treatment plant.
Okay.
El Sobrante ozonation plant.
Okay, so they used ozone. Okay.
Yeah, and they used ozone. And the other cool thing about that was we weren't fighting any other architects for that project because we use chlorine for purification. So they didn't expect to find any architects that had any experience with ozone. They just wanted to hire an architect. So we became experts in ozonation.
Yeah. And now that's pretty much what everybody uses, isn't it?
It's not chlorine, entirely, but ozone is used in conditions where, let's say, the water becomes a little hard to treat. You can only put so much chlorine into the water without it affecting the taste.
Did you do the Helix Water District? Did you do that one? Okay, that one's in San Diego.
We didn't.
Okay.
So we did 2 ozonation plants for East Bay Municipal Utility District, and for what was then CH2M Hill, now Jacobs Engineering.
Okay.
And we had such a great time with it that while we were doing that project, they just said, "You guys want to do another project?" And that was our first wastewater project, the Richmond Water Recovery Project.
Okay. Now, is that any? I mean, I know toilet to tap is like not. They want to. That's like a bad connotation. I can't remember what is it called now? It's not toilet. But you're basically reuse. What is it?
Recycling.
Recycling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Toilet to tap, I think, was a big scary. Ooh, don't say that. But if you look up very sophisticated systems like Singapore's New Water, 1W, New Water.
Okay.
They had no choice but to purify water to the highest standards because their access to fresh water was highly limited. So they just made it a point of national pride. You can see the Prime Minister drinking a bottle of it because it's not, it's, how do you say this? The water has stuff in it. Yeah. and if you get the stuff out of that water, then it's water.
Yeah.
So New Water is one kind of fantastic example of how you can treat wastewater to bathe your newborn in its standards. So toilet to tap was just a little scary method.
Yeah, that's what they used down in San Diego, but they stopped using that because people were so against just that toilet, toilet. Oh my God, toilet to tap.
Toilet water.
Yes, exactly.
But if you look at it another way, if you really treat wastewater, you only need potable water for maybe 27%. Cooking, bathing, drinking.
Yeah.
You don't need potable water to wash down roads and concrete.
No.
You don't need potable water to irrigate fields.
Tank.
Well, toilet tank.
Toilet tank.
I think it's Title 22. I can't remember now. The California, where you're allowed to use specifically purified water for irrigation. So I think toilet to tap was just a pretty successful, I guess, scare tactic, but it wasn't looking at the science or the existential reality of what we need wastewater for, how we can use recycled wastewater, and what we need potable water for. So I think we should just look at those things
Definitely.
seriously.
So what do you think about the future of architecture?
I am very hopeful about the future of architecture because of what the kinds of things I'm talking about. Is that architects have a vital role to play in how our cities and our communities and how our infrastructure functions, whether that's housing, streets, roads, water, transportation, subways, airports. That is architecture work. And I think the thing that we're really, really, really good at is going to the community and saying, we want to do these projects with you. What are some of your concerns and how can we address those concerns in design? We now know enough about engineering, I'll say water engineering, that we can offer solutions that don't endanger the treatment process at all. So we're not just doing something weird and out of process because we think it's an architectural. We understand the engineering, and we understand the architecture, we understand communities, and we can bring all those things together. That's why I'm still hopeful about what we do.
Okay. Michael, thank you so much. This has been a great interview. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now I'm like record.